everyone, it's Lily Dowse here at AIBC here in Asia, and I'm joined by Anton Golub, and you are one of the venture partners at Full Stack VC. But we're really going to delve deep into the crypto world because I haven't really discussed it that much over the last couple of days. We've had blockchain projects, metaverse projects, even discussing a bit of AI. But the fundamental of crypto, we haven't really gone into. And we've seen lots of news about crypto recently. We had the Ripple case in America. So why don't we delve deep into what's been going on in the industry?
Awesome. Yeah. So first, thanks very much, Lily, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And to dive kind of straight into details, I want to say that the case of Ripple, which is one of the biggest crypto projects, crypto companies in the world, winning a lawsuit against the US regulator was actually a historic moment for the whole industry because the regulatory landscape in US has been challenging, to say the least, for the last couple of years. And to actually somebody challenge the regulator and go out and say, actually, you're wrong, how you actually treat crypto companies, how you view all of these tokens, and get a victory, or people who would be precise, a partial victory. I think it's a really important and fundamental moment for the crypto industry. Now, what the victory actually was what actually the dispute was mainly around the token of Ripple as a company called XRP, and the judge ruled in the favor of Ripple, saying that the token itself is not a security token, which was a massive deal because then it means if it's a security token, there's a lot of regulations and rules how to do it. And thankfully, Ripple, won this, and we're grateful for this that they did this and they challenged the regulator and won, which is the most important in the end. Yeah.
As you say, it's a huge milestone in crypto history, really. It's the start of people actually challenging the governments and saying, hold on, we actually are something different. We're not a security. You can't treat us in the same way you've been treating companies historically. And obviously this has had also a big impact on the market as well. So where do you see Ripple standing in the next couple of years now something like this has taken place?
Yeah. So I would say that the big burden now from Ripple actually being taken away. We saw immediate reaction actually in the market, in a sense that there was a price increase, but also the exchanges that delisted XRP because of this lawsuit and these challenges immediately announced that they will relist it, and they listed it pretty much the same day. So one of the biggest crypto exchanges in the world, Coinbase, did that. So the CEO even tweeted saying, historic day for the crypto industry, we're really relisting XRP today. So there was an immediate reaction. Now, obviously, there was a sense of relief in the industry, but now Ripple, like any other crypto startups, needs to prove its use cases and its business case without the burden of this regulatory challenge. So long term, what we as an industry need to prove is actually that all of these tokens have a use case, because if they don't, long term, they will not end up very far. So Ripple XRP token is meant to be used as a liquidity tool in the interbank market, on the intercorporate market. So let's see how that goes, either smoother or less smooth, after they had this victory in court.
And do you think this now means that for tokens going into the future, there's going to be less challenges of them being deemed as a security? Do you think now there will be less of governments pushing back on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think now this will actually spark a big resistance, if I can be provocative, big resistance in the crypto industry, especially coming from US, because we actually have a precedent, in a sense that a judge ruled that this, particularly for XRP, it's not a security token. Many will now argue the same for them. And I think, the fight is still on, to say it like that. But now we have the first piece of that in that big puzzle to showing this is a new industry. This is an innovative tool. You cannot judge it, as you said, like you used to do before. And we need to change the laws in the end. This is actually what we need to. We need to change the laws.
It will be very interesting. And I've been discussing a lot being here in the Philippines, where it is a regulated market. It's very interesting to understand the difference between it and how that impacts the market. In the Western world, do you think it's going to be positive to have more legislation in place, or how do you feel about that?
So, in general, I always feel that the crypto industry actually managed to evolve and grow so fast because it was not highly regulated. Because then you can innovate, you can try things, doesn't work, let's try something else. Imagine if you're a bank and you tell them, let's change everything and let's have a token in a bank. I'm not saying that will happen, but you will never push that through because it's a very stiff environment, very stiff regulatory framework. So on one side, it's good not to be highly regulated, but when you're unregulated, that means nobody knows what are the rules. And you need the rules mostly for the traditional players, because if they know how you do KYC, AML, then they can say, you did everything correct. We can have you as a business partner. So I think you have two approaches here. One is you go straight out and change laws, but we know how fast are the politicians, not the fastest. Right. So that would be the other approach is actually you try to interpret new innovative technology under existing laws. This is, for instance, what Switzerland approach has taken, where I come from. It's a very easy approach because you don't need to change laws. You can kind of say, this is how we do things. But I think like the future is actually hybrid. Like you said, we need to change some laws, some things interpret, and then move forward very fast.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think it's that balance of having some control, but then also allowing businesses to develop and grow at their own pace, as you say, as rapidly as possible, so that there isn't as many hurdles. We don't want to get back to the traditional way of banking. This needs to be revolutionary. It's a digital revolution. So we have to let it happen and let it naturally flow into how it should be regulated and everything should happen. And then when we're talking about as well news, we have BlackRock and them starting to allow the utilities of cryptocurrency. And BlackRock's huge. So how do you think this is also going to impact the industry?
Yeah. So I have to say is that the moment actually that BlackRock, as one of the world, if not the world largest asset manager with 9 trillion, so it's 9,000 billions of assets under management, announced that they want to launch and they filed an application with the regulator for a spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund. It's actually a validation of the whole industry, but in a very peculiar way, in my view, is because BlackRock would not do that if there is no client interest. So if their clients are interested, who actually put 9 trillion in those funds, that means actually there's an enormous amount of liquidity that wants to enter into the crypto markets. And we now have an opportunity to be the beneficiary of that liquidity coming in. But now again, they're dealing with the amazing and exciting US regulator who needs to approve that. So let's see how this goes.
Yeah, I think it's just such a complicated realm of new business. Like, it's crazy what it can do. And I've heard of businesses, again, who are looking for VC funding and are actually willing to accept crypto so then they can pay staff with crypto. And when we start bridging that gap, it is crazy to really think about if you really can start see a flow of cryptocurrency through businesses. It really makes the potential so much higher, especially, I mean, obviously you working in VC, if a company is then willing to accept crypto, then you can take in crypto. It builds a whole ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so far, the benefits of the crypto industry have mainly been reserved for the crypto industry. And many times when people ask me, what's the adoption of crypto? I say, in the crypto industry, 100%. Everybody uses crypto tools to make their business efficient, faster, cheaper, and better, actually, in the end. Now, as you mentioned, you made a very important point. It's that bridge, So the same way we kind of had to take people by their hand and say, get an email one by one, and then we can email each other. Now we kind of have to do that as well. Hold their hand, say, come along, this is a nice, beautiful place, keep them safe, actually. But this bridge, I mean, if I have to do an analogy in the crypto space where we are now, it's like we're like in the late 80s, early 90s of the internet. So it's that early, actually, that early on. So that we are celebrating as somebody who wants to just launch a simple financial product with Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. We're celebrating that now, actually. So my point is, I'm very bullish. Obviously, I'm very bullish, very excited about the industry. I have a big smile when I talk to you, but I have to be humble and say we're so early.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think when you look at historically, I've interviewed many people who talk about the history of money, and it's very important to understand that because I think you really realise the flaws and how archaic it is. I'm from London. The Bank of England has been operating for many hundreds of years. It goes back crazy history, probably thousands of years, where people started utilizing some form of currency, whether it just be items of gold or whatever. It's always been established. So I think this whole concept of moving into a digital era, it will take time, and it's really difficult for people to see it logically. But then we live in a digital world now, so much more than we ever lived in before. So even a bank account, I don't ever see cash. Not until I came to the Philippines and they said to me, you need cash. And I'm like, what is this piece of paper? It's cash? What? I just see numbers on a bank statement on my phone. So it's that progression. And how do you think we can adopt it more into the everyday person? How can they start realizing the importance of cryptocurrency?
Yeah. So first, just to say, I agree with you. Like you said, you have to be patient. Now, I'm a lot older than you, so I can't be patient, but you are more patient than me. But I have to say also, so the way I see it, the biggest beneficiaries of technology and also crypto as an industry so far, unfortunately, have been very much developed countries. So it was your Switzerland, your UK, US, and so on. But with new technologies like Bitcoin, we have an opportunity that in emerging economies, you actually leapfrog the whole progress, and you actually you go from cash, the thing that we hold in our hand. The next day you're just on the blockchain. There's a stable coin or a digital currency. We transact with wallets, not even like there's no bank account and there's no bank anymore. And you can actually you don't have to do things gradually. Actually, you just move across a big chunk of innovation that you just skip over. So that's a benefit, and this is kind of how people pitch it many times. But also, I've traveled a lot, and then when you see the reality on the ground, you realize, okay, that leap also requires infrastructure. Like you said, we need to have actually good smartphones, have an internet connection. You need to have also the most important awareness and education that what you are using. Because without that, you give people a piece of technology and then it's like giving all people TikToks. They're like, what the heck is that? I don't understand it, Mm-hmm. So we need to also be sure that in the end we educate people how to use this technology.
And how do you feel about central bank digital currencies? Is that something you're pro, or I think it's a very interesting part of the industry, so I like to hear people's opinions.
So I think on the individual level, it's the fear of being a surveillance tool is real. So it's literally, I'm afraid that people will know what I spend my money on. And I don't spend it on anything, out of the ordinary, usually. So I think like from a retail perspective, it's a surveillance tool. I really think that's actually where it will end up, whether we like it or not. But when I talk to people who are work in monetary institutions or with the regulator, they actually see CBDC more on the so-called wholesale side, so among the banks and the interbank market. So you and I would, if we send each other currencies, we would see, ledgers being updated in our wallets. But then what would happen, CBDC would be used in the bank to net out positions between the banks. Okay. So this is when I talk to people who work in, central banks or at the Banking of a National Settlement. And I have this imprinted in my memory a few years ago where there was this lady from the BIS committee who on the stage in Switzerland said, we will not let retail touch CBDC. And her point was because we don't see it as a tool for retail. So I hope she's right in the end, and that we don't end up using it as a surveillance tool. But this is the only thing I'm pessimistic in the whole crypto industry, because I think it has a big potential to becoming a surveillance tool.
I do agree on that case as well. Yeah, I think there's that point of decentralization, whereas if you start putting it back into a centralized manner, it's a mess, really. It doesn't improve anything. It just takes you steps back rather than progressing forward. And then let's talk about being here in Asia at AIBC. So how have you enjoyed this event? I'm sure you've been on lots of panels. You were part of our startup pitch judges as well. So how have you enjoyed your experience?
Yeah. So first I have to say this is not my first AIBC conference. Yeah. And I had a blast. And when I was invited to come to a conference, I was like, oh, again, another conference. But then I said, it's in Manila. And I remember how I jumped and said, oh, it's in Manila. I'm interested. How would I have the opportunity to come? So just say, I came here. I had the opportunity to meet the people, lovely people, hardworking, very polite, very positive, optimistic, really how I feel I try to be. So I had a great experience with people. And also the conference, just to say for people who are listening to me, it's 2 floors in a massive convention center, super packed. So, and everything colorful, in your face, very positive. The vibe is great. So I just had a blast. And of course, I was privileged and humbled to be invited to speak on a couple of panels, which I did. Hopefully people like it. And amazing time at the startup pitch where we had really amazing startups, which you led as a moderator phenomenally. So I want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you for that. I didn't even ask him to say that. Don't worry. But yeah, no, it was crazy to see so many amazing people pitching here. As I say, I've done the startup pitch in Dubai, but here it was just a bit different. I feel like the businesses are more established, but they're still seeking expertise and want help, which I think we all do in this industry. And I really want to grow AIBC to be just as big as the Sigma part, because artificial intelligence and blockchain, this is the future, and this is what you're shaping as well. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all your participation throughout this event.
Thanks a lot, Lily. It was really a pleasure and a great time, on this discussion with you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.